Right guys, so this is a follow-on to, I'm presuming it's going to be the last video, although there might be one with my kid in between, so we're going to see. But this is a follow-on to the Papyrus video. I said I was going to do two. I'm wearing the same t-shirt, by the way. I'm filming them both the same day. But this one is going to be painting, using this as if it was a normal canvas and painting a landscape on it. I'm going to be doing, however, a historical landmark on it as part of one of my impressions. What do I call that series? It's Impressions of Egypt, but it's not Egypt. It's in Great Britain. It's Impressions of Britain. I'm going to be doing our local landscape, which is Castle Hill, on a Egyptian thing. So our local landscape is actually, we call it Castle Hill. It's actually called Elizabeth Tower, and it was gifted to our town, I think, in the 1800s. Yeah, again, fact check it. But it was, is it Elizabeth Tower? It's Victoria Tower. I'm getting the facts wrong. Queen Victoria gifted it to our town when she came up to visit us. But it's got loads of cool myths and legends, like the Pendragon is apparently meant to sleep under our little humble hill, and it wasn't the only castle that's ever been there. There's also the remains, or you can see the remains, you can see the Motte and Daly divots still, or the Bailey, not the Motte, in the hill, and we've still got one of the old, can't remember the name, lanterns that were marked were, what? Beacons, there we go, words aren't coming to me today, that were lit way back, that went right up the spine of England to warn people whenever those French, Spanish or anyone were coming to invade us. So it's a rather cool location, historically speaking, but it's also a place that I managed to get to recently, getting out with my PTSD and actually get out of the house. It's a place that I've had much fun over the years, that we take our kids, and a place of great beauty because it overlooks our entire town. So there you go. I'm going to be using this as if it was normal canvas, and see how it handles acrylic painting that way, impressionist art, which wasn't around in that style, with impressionism being, well, new. I've got a painting that was done here, more that I brought yet again over in Egypt. This was more the flat yet again style of artwork that was done. Again, you can see there is still a bit of actually 3D elements added to that, but it's still a lot flatter. Whereas I'm going to be doing more of the 3D style painting on a papyrus. I'm going to be doing that a lot with this paper range, trying to use, if it is a historical paper in its traditional style, then trying to see how it just simply handles being used as a canvas to do a piece of artwork on it. So, that being said, let's get going to the art, find a reference shot which I'm going to pull up and just get going with. I'll see you on the flip side, and let's get to it. Any other pieces that I've done before are all down below, so have a look if you want to find the last one. Yeah, let's go. Right guys, so I've just about got to the point where I'm setting up. I'm going to be approaching this as I pretty much approach any landscape picture, which is going to be masking off first, masking off the skyline, and then drawing on with a pencil. And going from there. I'm drawing a tower, which is actually one of the harder things for me to do because I struggle with buildings as a whole. I'm struggling with this masking tape right now. It's actually quite amusing. But yeah, I've already tested to see if masking tape will handle being on this paper as well. Although this is a higher tack tape, so I'm hoping this one will. I think it will. But yeah, I get tape that it is a low enough tack to deal with paper and the bit of paper I'm working on. Now I'm going to mask off a frame, as I do with all my work. So it'll have a nice little frame round. It is just going to be Papyrus rather than normal. And apart from that, as I said, I'm going to approach this as I do any work. We've already seen acrylic paints do work quite well on this. Now, they are the style of paint I have got the most experience with. I do have some watercolours to play around with, and a watercolour pad actually coming as well, which will make them a bit easier. So I am going to give them a good old shot on a video. I have had gained a little bit more experience recently just practicing. So I will give them a go with you at some point, and I've got some, I can't say everything in the world, wash paints coming as well, so they could be a bit of fun to play around with, and they look like my kind of cup of tea in all fairness as paint to go, because they're somewhere between watercolour and acrylics, so they look really cool. But there we go, we've masked this off, and as I said, I'm going to approach this the same. So the skyline on my reference photo, which I'm not going to show you in case that gets blocked just simply for copyright, but is actually a very low skyline. So one of the first things you want to do when you're doing this kind of work is, well, the first things I do is block off your skyline. Now, I'm going to be marking and painting and drawing on where my tower is and everything else is going to be after my sky is completely and utterly dry. But as I said, architectural drawing of any form, that is my complete weakness. And I've drawn a few castle hills over the year. So I'm quite intrigued to see where my change has got to with skill-wise drawing this particular tower, because it's been a few years since I've actually attempted, well, it's been about a year, I'd say, since I attempted it, and the last time I did was, well, teaching kids how to do art, so I didn't really particularly focus on what I was doing. So I would be quite intrigued to see if I've improved, how I've improved, and give myself a little bit of space to do so. I'm going to go and get the painting the sky now and let you watch. It's going to take a good deal of drying time afterwards. I don't know how quick things dry on Papyrus, but I will talk through a bit of the process at the end with you and let you know. Apart from that, hope you enjoy watching. A lot of this is going to be very much you watching. And as I said, I'll come back to you at the end and let you know what the experience has been like painting on this. Enjoy the music, guys. Right, I am going to simply stop this one there and discuss the properties of this paper a little bit, because it's actually quite interesting what it's done. So, when I do the start skyline, I actually put a lot of paint on at once. It's how I paint my impressionist work. As you can see, I'm going to leave it like this so it dries and hopefully the paper retains some of the integrity. But with how I put the water on to actually make the merging, the paper, because of the way Papyrus is made, struggles, and it's caused that bubbling effect, and where paper how we make it today would hold together a lot better, this has bubbled up and has made obviously the rest of the painting a lot more tricky because I've got a rough surface. And yeah, that's interesting. It also made the paint very glazed, which is interesting, and glossy. So when you're working with this, and I actually might try and do a marker picture on these to see the difference. With modern materials, you can't use many layers, which is another reason why maybe their work is so flat. You can only really get away with one layer of paint on there, because as soon as you start adding multiple layers, you've got this bubbling effect that really does change the work itself. And we've got a piece of art, but it's nowhere near the qualities in which I could do. In fact, I stopped myself at this point rather than continually adding more and more detail. This is very much an early stage piece of impressionist work for me. But if I keep going, the paper is just not going to take it. It will just end up disintegrating. And sometimes with art, you've got to learn and know when to actually stop. Because if you work against the materials and don't work with them, you actually end up destroying what you've actually already created. So at a very early phase, I worked out that this wasn't going to be a high detail piece, that I had to go really simplistic. As soon as I saw the sky going there, rather than going for the high end of impressionism, the simplistic, almost childlike style of drawing was the way that this was going to take. I still added those layers because I wanted you to see the effect that this was causing, because it actually is extremely interesting. As I said, I have another piece of this paper somewhere, so in a few weeks' time, after I've gone through some of the other stuff I've got, I may try one with markers, because they did actually take. But again, I think as soon as I start blending with markers on there, it's going to add more and more moisture to that paper, because papyrus is obviously made where the reeds placed down and then moisture's added. We're breaking those bonds. And obviously when you're using acrylic, you're wanting to use 280, 300 GSM paper, which is strong paper. So this is really interesting anyway. And this is why I'm wanting to do these art projects on these different styles papers, to see the difference. That's why I wanted to do one in the traditional style, which, as you saw, held up really well, using just one layer, held up really well, and we had a piece of artwork that looked really good. I used one layer of paint on each bit, and this, hopefully still at the end of it, it will keep its integrity. It's why I've not unstuck it like I normally would do. It will keep its integrity, and I can hopefully still put it on the wall behind me. I really hope I can, guys. But never let things like this stop you trying, because it's really fun trying new things, and as sometimes you just have to change your game plan. And very much so, I had to change my game plan with this piece of artwork. It's not as I had planned in my head at the beginning. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I will post below where I bought this particular papyrus paper from. It's not the bit maker's fault, by the way, by any way. This paper has been great fun to play with. The paper itself has been made perfectly. It's exactly how papyrus should act. So please do go check them out. Other than that, please, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. It really does actually help the channel out a lot. Stay safe and well, stay safe and well, guys. Bye. Right, guys, so last night when I left you, it had all pumped up. You see what I had done. It got all the moisture had actually leached back into the paper. I will hopefully put a note onto it, but as my husband pointed out to me last night, it's actually, the moisture was actually, when making papyrus, it actually pressed out of papyrus, not into it, which I didn't know. Just having a minute while I'm filming. So all the moisture is actually pressed out of it. So it was getting added back in, obviously, as I was doing it. Really kind of cool, as I said earlier. And it's always cool learning to do new work with new things. But you see, could leave it here, and I was going to leave it here. But my husband suggested maybe we try to see if we could actually draw on top of it and fill it with pens. Now, I know from experience this doesn't always work right, because the texture of acrylics doesn't always deal well with having pens on top of it. So we're going to have to literally go from left to right with our detailing, I think. So I'm going to try and start with the tower, because it's the most detailed thing in reality. And try and colour match as best as I can. And see what I can actually achieve. See if we can actually get this looking a little bit more detailed. It's obviously not going to be anywhere near impressionist, but we're going to go a bit of a mixed media effect here and see what can be done if we do this kind of work. So yeah, let's see how this turns out after a little bit of finagling, so to speak. So I hope you enjoy watching this kind of thing. And yeah, let's go. Right guys, so this shows why sometimes it's worth coming back to your work the day after. I'm just going to peel this off and see actually how it's dealt with on the underside and see what our piece of work actually looks like. Ooh, look at that. We've still got our papyrus outline, kind of cool, and it shows that working with the material you've got, sometimes you have to be adaptable, especially when playing with a material like papyrus. Now obviously the original way of painting with just acrylics wasn't working for me. You saw the issues, and it would have worked having a piece of art like that, but going back over like this with the pens, very much grateful for my husband for that idea, has lifted this piece of artwork to a completely different level and allowed me to go more into what I wanted to actually do. So here we have Castle Hill, Victoria Tower on Castle Hill, to go into kind of the Impressionist style, because it's a bit of both, I'd say. That's going to pull out a read if I'm not careful, try to pull down. So yeah, I'm trying to get this off without trying to be careful. Working with a very different style of paper, so I have to be really careful with how I actually extract all this. So if I pull up that reed there, I'm going to pull a strip of painting off. There we go. So here we go. And obviously, as I always say, sign your artwork. I'm going to sign this right down here in the corner. And we're going to do the heart today in the green that just blends nicely in with the background. So, I already said bye to you once, but I'm going to say bye to you again because this was filmed a second time. I hope you actually like that. Stay safe and well, guys. Bye.